Yeah, I can't tell you whether Donald Trump is going to be the next Andrew Jackson and slay slay the Federal Reserve, slay the central bankers, or whether he's just going to get in bed with them. And by that I mean if he's going to merge the executive and the Federal Reserve. And I think that's even worse. Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, we're going to look at the second bank war today. And if you're not aware of what that means or what that is, I've done a few videos about it. The first one was on January 29th, where I asked the question, is President Trump about to kick off the second bank war? On February 13th, I did another report entitled America is on the Cusp of a Second Bank War. And on April 20th, I asked the question, well, I said the second bank war heats up as Trump looks to bring Powell and the Fed to heel. And it's been, this war has been raging, and I think it's accelerating now. We've had some comments from the Fed governor, Board of Governor Fed member that was appointed by Trump recently, Stephen Mirren. That shows to me that Stephen Mirren might even be a Trojan horse, and I'll explain that a little later. First, we need to understand what the first bank war was. Well, that took place in the 1830s between President Andrew Jackson and Nicholas Biddle, who was the head of the Second Bank of the United States, which was a central bank that was around from 1816 to 1836. So back in 1832, just before the election, Nicholas Biddle, he was in alliance with some senators like Henry Clay of Kentucky and Daniel Webster of Massachusetts, and he submitted an application for the renewal 4 years before, so it would be a political thing during the election of 1832. Of course, Andrew Jackson vetoed that, and eventually Andrew Jackson withdrew all the funds from the Second Bank of the United States, and the charter was not renewed in 1836. Yes, that was the first bank war. And from 1836 until December 23rd, 1913, the United States did not have a central bank. And I'm not a lawyer, but I personally think that the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional. And why do I think that is? Well, because Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5 of the Constitution says that Congress has the power to coin money, i.e. gold, silver, copper, regulate the value thereof, and also of foreign coin, because foreign coins used to circulate when there were no legal tender laws prior to 1862. The Spanish silver dollar used to circulate. European gold coins used to circulate, and it says, and fix the standard of weights and measures. That doesn't mean creating credit and currency out of thin air like the Fed does. The Fed does not coin money. Congress has really given up that power to a private institution. Yes, hybrid, mostly private institution. And yes, that's why I think the Fed is unconstitutional. And I think Andrew Jackson was right not to renew the charter of the Second Bank of the United States. And so do I think that's the way forward? Well, there are people like Representative Thomas Massey, who I interviewed recently, who have put forward resolutions for bills to end the Fed, to abolish the Federal Reserve system, the Federal Reserve Board, the Federal Reserve regional banks. He's put that forward. But of course, the Federal Reserve is very, well, it's almost like God. That's what Jim Sinclair used to call the Fed. They're like God, and they control everything. So do I really think that Trump, through Stephen Mirren and maybe other governors that he might appoint going forward? Don't forget, this week is a really important week for the Fed and its independence, so to speak, because the Supreme Court, according to the FT, Supreme Court decision on Donald Trump's firing of Lisa Cook is looming over the Fed. And the Supreme Court could say that Trump can fire her while they await for a lower court decision on whether she should stay or not. And if the Supreme Court rules with Trump, that means basically Trump is going to take over the Fed. And that's why I think Stephen Mirren could be a Trojan horse. Do I think Trump wants to take over the Fed with people like Mirren, who wants like a 2% rates down to like 2.5% almost right away? He wants another, he wanted 50 basis points in the last meeting. He wants 50 at the end of October and 50 before the end of a year. He thinks it should be a lot lower. I personally think the free market should set rates, but that's another topic. But yeah, I can't tell you whether Donald Trump is going to be the next Andrew Jackson and slay the Federal Reserve, slay the central bankers, or whether he's just going to get in bed with them. And by that, I mean if he's going to merge the executive and the Federal Reserve. And I think that's even worse because, as the Constitution says, Congress, the people of the United States, they should control the coinage, the weights and measures of money. We of course, we don't have money anymore. We use paper, we use digital entries, we use copper nickel coins, not real money. The Fed has never minted money in its existence since 1913. So ideally, we would be seeing Donald Trump pushing Congressman Massey's bill, and I think there's a senator from Utah, I think his name is Mike Lee, I might be mistaken. He has put the same bill forward in the Senate. That would be ideal. Abolish the Federal Reserve and give Congress back its power to regulate the value and mint the coinage. And that doesn't mean that Congress can go and print paper money. What that means is that Congress might, like it did in 1934, devalue the currency from like $20.67 to $35. And they did that, I think, in 1833 from $19 and change to $20.67. So that's what it means. That's what Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5 means. It doesn't mean you can have a central bank. So how would Stephen Mirren become a Trojan horse? Well, him and maybe other horses, i.e. other Fed governors, if the ruling by the Supreme Court helps Trump get rid of other governors, they could become more, and there could be several Trojan horses. They could come in and totally discredit the Fed by cutting rates aggressively. Because interest rates, I think if they cut the short-term rates now down to 2 or 2.5, with the way things are going, all-time highs in the stock market, the labor market still relatively strong, huge deficit spending, the debt getting out of control. I think investors are going to sell the longer end of the bond market, like from the 5 to the 30 year, especially 10 to 30s. And that's going to make things even worse. And that could lead to a complete meltdown of the dollar fiat currency, which is, of course, issued by the Federal Reserve. I know commercial banks create currency by issuing credit to people, but at the base, though, it is the Federal Reserve, and it's reserve money that it creates. So that's the only thing I can see happening, that these little Trojan horses led by Stephen Mirren totally wipe out the credibility of the Federal Reserve. And then maybe Trump will come in and reinstitute sound money. Who knows? Even though I think Trump likes debt, but you never know. But that's why I'm so adamant to keep holding on to my precious metals, i.e. physical gold and silver, because things are getting very tumultuous, not just domestically in the United States with this second bank war. And by the way, I think Trump is winning this second bank war. Whether it's good or not for the United States, I don't know, because is Trump really trying to get the executive in bed with the private Federal Reserve, or is he actually trying to abolish it and give the power back to Congress? Maybe you could comment below what you think. It's still up for debate, I would say. And all around the world, the same problem exists. Here in the UK as well, central bank has a lot of power. And my wish, with this channel has been to try and expose central banking, because it's not really a free market institution. It's a government monopoly controlled by private interests, the banking interests that have been around for centuries. And I think we've had enough of them. And I've got here one of the mugs from my merchandise store. It's an End of Fed mug with Andrew Jackson, yet Rudy's here too. And on the back, this is what's nice about these mugs, there's a quote by Thomas Jefferson, and I'll read it to you. I sincerely believe that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. Thomas Jefferson. So yeah, we're swindling ourselves right now, not just here in the UK, but in the US. That's what that 37.5 trillion national debt is telling us. And here in the UK also, it's getting out of control, of course. So yeah, there's a link below in the description to the merchandise store. There's other mugs, there's other merchandise there too, if you're interested, of course. What else is going on? Gold and silver. Yeah, gold and silver are continuing to do very well. Yesterday, actually, gold even picked up quite a bit after this statement from Stephen Mirren about rates needing to be cut by another 2%. Actually, he wants them down to 2%. Silver got above 44. And this chart here of silver, I posted it on X. And this was from yesterday. Silver is just above 44. And I did it on a quarterly basis. So if by the 30th September next week, silver is still above 44, it means we've made a breakout on a quarterly closing basis. So yeah, gold is looking very good. Yes, it's going to get choppier ups and downs, but it's mostly going to be up, in my opinion. what else is going on? Well, here in the UK, we have a lot of problems, fiscal especially. We still we don't have the major reserve currency anymore, so we can't print and spend as much as you guys can in the US. So the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's basically the equivalent of Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, Rachel Reeves, she's having a tough time. Her budgets have big holes in them, and her budget deficits are growing at an increasing pace. And why is that? Well, because instead of deregulating, cutting the size of government, cutting taxes, spending less, sending less money to countries fighting wars, sending billions to countries to fight climate change. Instead of doing that, she's continuing to do it and spend and spend. And the economy here has been hammered. She's put taxes on employers. She hasn't cut regulation. And they've bent over for the public sector unions, give them huge pay rises. So now they're calling this Resolution Foundation, supposed to be a respected think tank, but it's just an elite think tank. It's a uniparty think tank. They're saying it says Reeves urged to break labor manifesto pledge and raise income tax. What a surprise. These people, they don't have your best interest, not just here in the UK, these politicians, but even in the United States. That's why I've always told my viewers, you need to try to become self-sufficient, self-reliant, live within your means, and never trust a word that any of these politicians say. Just look at what they do. There might be one or two exceptions, like Ron Paul used to be, like Thomas Massey is today, maybe Rand Paul as well, and some others, but it's a rarity. Here in the UK, unfortunately, we don't have anyone like Thomas Massey or Rand Paul or Ron Paul. So, the second bank war, it's raging. The question here is it a good war? Is it a Jackson-like war where he's actually going to slay the central bank and not get in bed with the central bank? As I said, the verdict is still out. I highly recommend this biography, Andrew Jackson, by H.W. Brands. Great book. Old Hickory, I guess, was his nickname. Not guess, it was his nickname. With that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.